Matt Riddle, the King of Bros. Support WrestleTalk. Do it, bro.
Support WrestleTalk!
It's WWE Clash at the Castle predictions time. I am Luke Owen, DAD, and that is Oliver Davis. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. Please do click the thumbs up button, press subscribe if you haven't already, and let us know down in the comments below who you think the winners and losers will be at WWE Clash at the Castle in our home nation of Great Britain.
Yes.
It's in Wales.
Well, no, Wales it's like a county. It's a county of England.
It's a massive county, which has
yeah.
got its own counties within.
Mm-hmm. And I think like
You've misspelled the word country.
No.
It's its own country.
No, wait. So I watched the first episode of the Welcome to Wrexham series with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McIntyre, who have bought a football club there.
They have indeed.
And they have to have this whole explainer about what Wales is. It's like, no, it's another country.
It's a whole other country, guys.
Surprised us too. Because like obviously Scotland, obviously. Because you just cut Great Britain in half.
And as we all know, Ireland, all one place.
That's a separate,
It's all one place. And there's no conflict about that just being one whole place.
They famously got on great.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh no, this isn't like more Cornwall or extra Liverpool. No, it's like it's a whole different place. I guess like a small Canada.
They've got their own language and everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it is in Wales this weekend. You and I will not be attending this show. However, because we've got our own party that we're doing, details on that later on in this episode. But let's get down to this predictions because this is pretty great, isn't it? We haven't had a SmackDown yet, but SmackDown's already been taped. And we reckon this is the full card. And ladies and gentlemen, this full card is 6 matches long.
You're looking at a 3-hour 15 show. This is beautiful. There's no pre-show nonsense.
Well, as we know, as of now, there may be something added to the pre-show, like in the coming days.
There hasn't been a pre-show this year, I don't think, with wrestling on. The pre-show is back to what it should be. Booker T having crap takes. Shucky ducky quack.
Here's why I hate AEW, man. Like that's just
imagine if he said those takes on the kickoff panel.
But yeah, so
make people watch.
It probably isn't going to be a match on there, but we just have 6 matches. Now, I haven't looked at the all-out card, but I think there's 6 matches on the pre-show for that.
Yes, you'd be correct. It is actually a 32-match card.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to last 4 days.
Well, you've got to get everyone on that card, haven't you?
Yeah.
So here we got. So we got our 6 matches. Let's kick things off with the one that was announced on this Monday's Raw. Edge and Rey Mysterio versus the Judgment Day. I thought this was going to be a 6-person tag match with Beth Phoenix and Rhea Ripley there. However, it is just straight up tag. It's Rey and Edge versus Baszler and Priest. So Edge beat Priest on Raw a couple of weeks ago, and Damian Priest and Finn Balor picked up a win over AJ and Dolph on this week's Raw. But what do you think is going to happen when they collide at Clash?
Well, I really thought they were heading in the 6-person match because Rhea Ripley has been such a physical force in all the angles they've done. It's like Ripley has been built up to be the China-like threat, even beyond like Damian Priest. And they've done a really good job with it. But the big awkward thing is there's only so long you can tease out, well, I'm going to hit a woman until
I've got my kendo stick.
Yeah, until she has to get her receipt eventually. Way WWE is that they don't tend to want men hitting women, which I get. That's I can understand that.
Some people just don't like it.
So the way to get around that is to have a woman on the other side who can get that receipt via proxy. So I thought, Beth Phoenix would have been the perfect shout for it. It gives the match a elevation of stakes as well, because I do feel like I've seen this already. I would say this feud it's been going on a while.
Which is weird because they actually haven't been feuding for that long. Because obviously they kicked Edge out of the group after whichever show it was, the one before sometime. Hell in the Cell was it? They kicked him out of the group when like Baszler joined, and then they kicked him out of the group.
Yeah.
But then Edge was gone for so long. And Edge has come back. He had the one match against Priest, and then this is only really the second match. I think what you're right though, because I think Judgment Day have been feuding with the Mysterios for so long. But since Triple H has taken over, it's had like a bit of a reset button press on it. It's like, actually, the story is now about Rhea Ripley doming Dom. And that's the real crux of this story here.
I feel like of all the feuds, and it's been treated competently and pretty decently. I really like the Edge Priest match.
Great.
In Toronto. But
actually, Rey and Finn had a great match.
Yeah. I just feel like this is one of those storylines that's been inherited rather than... oh, yeah, let's do something great. Riddle versus Seth is another example, but as we'll come on to, I think they've actually done a stellar job building that up. This one, it's more like, okay, let's try this, let's try that. I'm not fully into it. I'm looking forward to it to move to the next stage, which is, I predict, Dominic sides with Judgment Day and costs his old familiar to lose.
Yeah, I think he's going to be turning on Rey, turning on his dad in this match, because they had a backstage segment on Raw this week where Dominic effectively said, by the way, I'm turning this weekend. Because, he sat there and be like, look, it's fine, Dad. You don't want to tag with me. You want to tag with your old boyfriend. I will be by your side this coming Saturday, stabbing you in the back.
Yeah. And he's also just, all this relationship with him and Rhea. He handed over the kendo stick to Ripley. When he could have just hit her in the face.
Could have been, yeah.
But he's like, no. You take it, master.
You take it, mum.
And he just turns around.
Please, mummy, you have this instead.
I've been a naughty.
I'm also going with Judgment Day.
Yep.
For very much the same reason. I think this is where Dominic does the turn. And sides with the Judgment Day, who, by the way, I think is one of the groups that has benefited the most from the Triple H takeover, because up until Triple H was in charge, they were a joke, like a running joke of a useless group that never won anything. And now they genuinely feel like a formidable presence on the show.
I still think they're less than the sum of their parts. It's like when I see them in singles action, I'm like, yes, Balor, yes, Priest, awesome, Ripley. But whenever they come together for a promo, I'm like, oh, you guys are pretty lame.
Up next for the Intercontinental Championship. Oh, lads, are you ready for this? It is Gunther versus Sheamus. Now, when I interviewed Sheamus quite a few years ago, actually, he just made his return. So January 2020, I interviewed him on a bus going around London. It was freezing cold. And I interviewed Sheamus. It was like one of the last interviews he did of the day. And all he wanted to talk about was finally winning the Intercontinental Championship. To some people, belts are just belts. They're just something that you win, something you have, this and the other. To Sheamus, this is genuinely a belt that he wants to win, because he's never won the Intercontinental Championship. He's done everything else. Won the Rumble, Mr. Money in the Bank. He's won the World Heavyweight title. He's won the US title, Tag Team Championships. But he's never won the Intercontinental Championship. So this really does mean a lot to him. Do you know what he also loves? Beating people up really, really stiff like. And Gunther is also a lad that loves beating people up really stiff like. Last time Gunther had a match in Cardiff was one against Tyler Bate for NXT TakeOver. It was Cardiff, wasn't it? It wasn't Blackpool. And he just absolutely knocked 10 belts of cack out of him. These two are going to... Their chests will be... Like, they won't need lights, because their chest will guide everyone home with how red they are.
Especially because Sheamus is on the paler end of the spectrum. Those welts are going to come up immediately.
I think Gunther's going to look at him and the welts will come up.
I'm really excited for this. It's a great story. But it's ultimately just two guys in a kind of tweener sense. I'm going to find out who is the tougher guy. I think it's going to be a fair fight. I don't think there's going to be much shenanigans, even though both sides have seconds and larger factions behind them. What I like most about this, though, is I don't know who's going to win. And that's the case for most of this show, apart from the Judgment Day match that we've just talked about, because I think, storyline-wise, I think I can see where that's going. Here, and it really reminds me of the old takeovers, you're like, I can see storyline justifications for this going either way. Sheamus is in his home country of...
But he's
not even.
He's from Ireland.
Not even geographically or politically.
No, he's not.
But let's say
he's in his home continent of Europe.
He's nearer his home than he is when he's in America.
Yeah.
And but then again, so's Gunther.
Well, that's right, yeah.
He's close to Austria.
He is.
I cannot wait for this match. It might actually be the match I'm most looking forward to from a...
Samesies.
Yeah, just a slap.
Consensual violence. Oh, there's going to be so much consensual violence. Can you imagine when Sheamus does the 10 beasts of the Bowery and just starts clobbering? Because he's going to be laying those clobbering blows in. And then Gunther is just going to slap the piss out of this man.
Some of my favourite WWE matches of recent times are whenever Drew and Sheamus get into the ring. On TV, it's just like they've got magic,
smashing heads and drinking kegs.
Yeah. Famously, they've always said that. But this could be another level. And it's Gunther can wrestle his match. Sheamus can wrestle his match. They are like in the same style, but I do think they're distinctly different styles in that niche. And I can't wait for them to do it. But if I had to pick, I'm going to say Sheamus.
Oh, Sheamus gets the... I mean, I thought that Sheamus might win here as well. Because, you sort of like splintering off into different storylines. I think we are possibly heading towards a Pete Dunne revival. Ditching away Butch, ditching away from the Brawling Brutes, becoming the Bruiserweight again. I can certainly see Triple H wanting to go down that direction. What better way to do that than to go up against Sheamus for the IC title, firmly establish him as a title contender, this, that, and the other. Having said that, they are doing quite a heck of a job in protecting Gunther and making him feel like a final boss, that I don't know if Sheamus is the guy to do that. But then again, this is the belt that Sheamus wants. We don't know how many more years. Sheamus himself has said this. I don't know how many more years I've got left doing this. Do you want to pass up the opportunity to give him that accolade now, or do it down the line hope you can do it down the line at some other point? Because this isn't going to be this is not going to be replayed at the next pay-per-view. And it's not going to be replayed at the pay-per-view after that as well. I think Triple H is trying to move away from the repetitive cards, which is why Seth versus Riddle wasn't on at SummerSlam, because he knew he was going to do it here.
You don't see Sheamus, Gunther on an episode of SmackDown main event title change back to Gunther?
You possibly could do.
In a couple of weeks?
Yeah, you possibly could do. I mean, my prediction for this is Gunther.
Okay.
I think Gunther retains here. And if only because I think that this is going to be one of those both beaten within an inch of their life, but Gunther was just the better man on that day. But Sheamus loses nothing in the loss.
It'll pale in comparison to what Rhea Ripley's going to do to Dominic Mysterio.
With that kendo stick.
That's pointy.
It is.
Get a splinter or two.
So I think it is Gunther retaining here.
I'm happy either way.
So happy either way. Up next, you mentioned it earlier, Matt Riddle as well, got his name back on Raw this week versus Seth freaking Rollins. He still, unfortunately, has his middle name. This is a feud that was building up to SummerSlam, and then they did not do the SummerSlam match because they wanted to do it at Clash at the Castle instead, and have done 4 weeks of excellent build for this. This has been, I think, a wonderfully built feud, and I really am looking forward to seeing these two finally get their hands on each other at the pay-per-view.
I love that you're into it. I wouldn't say excellent. I would say it's been 3 weeks of pretty standard, here's a brawl, and they're fun, but ultimately it's a normal feud.
Did you not hear Matt drop some swears?
Well, that's it. It's been a normal feud for 3 weeks, but the go-home angle on Monday's episode of Raw was outstanding. The best go-home angle of that show. I think it will probably be the best go-home angle for Clash at the Castle. And they've just... And you know what did it? It was Seth Rollins in that face-to-face, side-by-side Zoom-style interview. They do like another promo, and it's kind of the same as all the ones before. It's when they come back from break and they say, this is what happened when we left that interview. Seth drops the gimmick. And I realized, I love you, Seth, but your gimmick is keeping me at arm's length. I cannot take you seriously in the outfits or with the stupid laugh. I get why you do it. It's heel heat. I think it's superficial heat.
I don't heel heat.
Yeah,
Bucky
yeah.
O'Hare is.
It's go away heat sometimes for me. He dropped all of it and he just went into cold, manipulative Triple H's prodigy. Well, let me tell you about your family, Matt Riddle. Your wife divorced you. She took the kids and nobody wants to see your bitch ass anymore. And that gave Riddle the fuel to genuinely like swear. And I was like, this is like pissed off Riddle. We had goofy Stoner Riddle just a couple of months ago, and it doesn't feel jarring. So that angle, that promo work, the character work from both guys, like it's shot up to being. Well, I'm actually looking forward to so many matches here, but one of my most anticipated on the card purely because of a 30-second angle. I think.
Who you picking? That's the question.
I'm going to go with my heart. It could go either way. I'm going Riddle. They need baby faces.
They do need baby faces. Yeah, I mean, I was leaning more towards Seth, but then I thought Seth was going to win at SummerSlam, and I think maybe now they do Riddle here instead. Do you know what? No, I'm sticking with my guns. I'm sticking with Seth winning on this occasion here. I do think, though, there's every chance this match gets thrown out. Like, referee can't separate them apart, and ref calls for a double DQ. Or something along those lines. They brawl too much, they brawl out, double count outs, and we build to something else between the two of them. Big cage match. Because I think like this is a feud that needs a stip around it. Like to really hammer home just how much these two hate each other. So you could build to a cage match on Raw in a couple of weeks' time.
I like that. I actually think you're right there. I want to get into a place where DQs and finishes like that on TV or pay-per-views are actual tools to tell a story like that, as opposed to just lazy ways out that they never come back to.
Because we're going to do it at the pay-per-view next month. But yeah, I think this just being a straight singles match says to me this is not the end of this. So I'm either going with Seth wins or Seth stands tall, but we are going to get a rematch between these two because I think it could be double DQ.
Do you want to hear my major hope for this?
Please do.
It's a British crowd. Which have, I'm sorry to say, Americans, a much better vocabulary of chants.
Well, we're better than America.
Yes.
Like that's just, I don't even think that's a hot take. I think that's pretty much stone cold fact.
We made America?
Yeah.
So even America's success is ours.
Yeah. Better fans, better chips.
Better ships?
Chips.
Oh, chips.
Yeah. Like a chippy chop chip is better than an American fry.
I don't know. Simpsons.
Oh, are you trying to say?
I'm just saying.
I think you were saying like Simpsons is better than chip shop chips.
I like Simpsons. Anyway, there was an old chant. Riddle kind of made a lot of his name in this country on the indie circuit. We saw him a bunch of times in Rev Pro in London, and the chant was, "Bro, always believe in your soul. You've got the power to, bro.
You're indestructible. Always believe in. You are bro.
And continues.
Yeah.
So it's Gold by Spandau Ballet.
To the annoyance of Zack Sabre Jr., the more you do it.
If a little contingent of the stadium start chanting that, which I presume and hope they will, if that travels around all 70,000 fans, that could be special.
Could be awesome, couldn't it? Yeah, so you're going with Matt. I'm going with Seth on that one. Let's go next to the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship next as Liv Morgan defends her belt against Shayna Baszler, another person who's had a huge reset pressed and just being like, oh, we need to rehabilitate your character, which has been broken and driven into the ground by the old regime. Let's make you the Queen of Spades again. Let's just do the Submission Magician. Let's literally just make you NXT Shayna Baszler again.
Kevin Owens, here's your shirt back.
The same thing has happened with Shayna Baszler. It's like, yeah, forget all the stuff you did previously. You're now just NXT Shayna Baszler again. She's going up against Liv Morgan, who I don't think has had a great run under Triple H so far. as much as I really liked the brutality of the match she had at SummerSlam, because it was just like Ronda Rousey just throwing her like around the ring, and it was quite wicked because she's such a good ragdoll seller. It was a finish that did not benefit Morgan. And unfortunately, she's been booed on SmackDown as a result of that, and people chanting "you tapped out" at her. And I don't think that this underdog story that they were trying to tell with her has actually worked in her benefit. And I don't know how that's going to play into this match here, because she is going in as like a huge underdog here against this absolute killer in Shayna Baszler. My prediction is that she is going to remain on top, though. I think she is going to retain her title. I just hope that they come up with a way to protect Baszler in the defeat and not have people boo Morgan again when she goes back to SmackDown next Friday.
Yeah, because you do need to give Liv some credible wins where it's not just all flukes. We've done the story last year of Liv being like, I don't think I deserve to be here. Oh, now I do. So I'm past that. I think, you don't want to take the title off of Liv, because that cash in, the run so far, while it hasn't really caught a light, it's a nice victory for the fans.
And you can get that fan reception back for her.
Yeah, definitely. I think Shayna Baszler is going to be sacrificed. Although, if Shayna won, then all of a sudden, hey, with her friend Ronda, there's some friction there. I think a Shayna Ronda match down the line is far more box office than a Liv Ronda feud. But maybe
they'll do fake MMA though, and that's never good on TV. All I got to do,
but
it's going to be Jake Hager one they did on AEW. Do you remember that fake MMA match they did?
I like that match.
No, you didn't.
Cage.
No one liked that match.
But I think that feud is probably better done with Ronda winning the title off of Liv eventually, not anytime soon, and then you can have Shayna turns on Ronda. I think that's the better way to do that story. But it could go either way. But I think I'm going to go with Liv too.
I wonder if we're actually heading towards Baszler and Ronda being a tag team and really bolstering up that women's tag team side. Really tough challenges for Raquel and Aaliyah sort of first up. But also don't mind the storyline of if Ronda comes back and wins the title, the jealousy that Shayna may have for that, because Ronda had that moment with her on SmackDown. She walked past her, was like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
Like, you used to be a killer and you're not now. And that's fueling Baszler to try and find that old form that she had. I think Liv retains here, but I think there's a lot of options for Baszler afterwards, potentially a Ronda match or a Ronda tag team. I think there's a lot of directions you can go with that character, and I think that is actually very, very exciting. Up next was a match that I was quite excited for, and I'm now slightly less excited for. It's Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka versus Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. I was really into Bayley's act, and their loss that they had on Raw over those tag team titles really did make them look like just people on the roster. And now they're just going up against people on the roster.
Yeah, it's been a lame tournament. The matches have been subpar. It's been plagued with issues where people have had to be pulled either through injuries or mitigating circumstances. So, but I always thought this will be worth it because Skye and Kai are gonna win. They'll have the titles. They'll have cool momentum going into the pay-per-view match, the 6-person. Awesome. And after that, boom, straight into Banks and Naomi versus Skye and Kai.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Too correct. Because I had this vision in my head of Kai and Skye with their tag team titles, Banks and Naomi coming out with their tag team titles, being like, we never never lost these titles. All 4 of them holding their belts up, unifying those belts because they're interim champions, and interim championships always work. And that's your big match there. I am less into it now with Raquel and Aaliyah. If that is how you're bringing Banks and Naomi back. I also don't think that's happening here at this show either.
I just feel like Skye and Kai, there was a real opportunity here to make them feel like killers under Bayley's mentorship. But Bayley doesn't really have to wrestle much. She's only wrestled once, and it was against Aaliyah. And she squashed her. It was a bit of a pants match, to be honest, in 5 minutes. So you're like, okay, Skye and Kai, they've just come up at SummerSlam. You want to do everything you can to make them look unstoppable.
And the first stop in that is having them struggle against Dana Brooke and Tamina.
Yeah, and Bayley's interfering. I get their heels, but it's like, pick your heel battles. Sometimes you just want them to railroad over people, properly get them over as a threat, as a credible threat. But now I'm just going into this as it's gone from what felt like a proper main event women's division feud to a filler feud to bide time until the singles match. Yeah. And one of the main things I liked about it was the filler feud felt just as important as when that singles title match of Belair versus Bayley will eventually happen. But now it just feels like filler. It's got to be Bayley, Kai, and Skye winning.
I think so.
With Bayley to keep the story going.
With Bayley pinning Belair and using that to set up the singles title program between the two of them for the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, but I'm really, really disappointed in Kai and Skye's run so far.
Yeah, me too. But it comes to our main event. It's a singles match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, the UEU Championship. Roman Reigns defending against Britain's own Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I can't wait.
This is going to be great.
Like, Drew was just subtly but significantly dropped the little swordy, goofy parts of his presentation. And now it's just like, here is NXT level Drew going again. And, actually, to be fair to the main roster, when he won the Rumble to that Brock Lesnar feud and won the title, that was also a great version of Drew. It's him versus Roman Reigns. And I feel like they've booked this story so well, where you've got Kevin Owens waiting in the wings regardless of who wins.
And Karrion Kross.
And Karrion Kross, of course. So this could have been such a predictable thing, where the only seed of doubt is, oh yeah, but Drew's from up the road. Maybe they'll give him the win. Well, I am genuinely now, I think Drew's going to win. 2 years. There's no need to give Roman a longer reign than this. So I'm saying Drew is going to win.
I think Drew's winning as well. For the last couple of weeks, I've really had this in my head. I think Drew's winning the belt. And I credit to WWE on this. They have been building this match for quite some time, really doing everything they can to keep Roman and Drew apart. Made much easier when Roman stopped coming to work. Really made keeping them apart a lot easier.
Well, wasn't there? Was it Backlash where it was meant to be Roman versus Drew, but they turned it into a six-man?
Yeah, because they were going to do the title unification thing instead. And yeah, I can't remember what it was now, but yeah, there was something like that.
Randy and Riddle
were there, and so they had these whole different plans and stuff. But now we're finally getting Roman versus Drew in Drew's home nation. Bucky O'Hare he is Scottish. This is in Wales. They are two different countries, but we are sort of a united kingdom, I guess, in a way. Not that anyone particularly likes each other for it. Like, no, I say that wrong. The Welsh like the Scots, and the Scots like the Welsh. Just no one likes the English, and the Northern Irish are just doing their own thing.
I don't even like us.
In fairness, me neither. But I think that Drew's going to get a great reception. And I think if you're going to put the belt on Drew, now is the time. There was a moment when he came in and cut that promo at SummerSlam. And I said to Sullivan, put the belt on him. Like, now is the time to put the belt on him.
The one where he talked to the kid.
Yeah.
Hey, let's chant for this kid.
Yeah. I was like, now's the time. Let's put the belt on him now. And I can see them doing, because WrestleVotes had a tweet yesterday. Their latest report is that for the first time in a long time, there have been pitches made to creative about Roman dropping the belt and what that could mean and how they can get the belt off of Roman. And, according to WrestleVotes, they have been heard by, the people in charge and have found them very interesting leading into this Saturday in Cardiff. So I think we really are heading into it. And I also think we are heading to a period of time where we're going to be separating the belts out again. I could see them at the next pay-per-view, Drew having two matches, one against Owens, one against Kross. One's for the WWE Championships, one's for the Universal Championship. We split those belts up. Because Drew's an affable guy. And I don't think Drew wants to just have, just hold a monopoly like Roman does.
Or he is as part of his character now, I do every show.
Yeah.
Which I also think he'll be fine with. But you can tell the story.
He had that promo on Raw, didn't he? Where he's I can do this.
So he does Raw, SmackDown, but through that, you tell the story of him getting, well, too tired. So eventually on a pay-per-view, after a couple of pay-per-views of him opening the show with one title defense, closing with the other, he wins the first one, but he loses the main event to whoever that could be. But yeah, I'm going with Drew. I love all of this. How do you think they could beat Roman? Because I don't think they'll just do a clean.
I think it's clean.
Drew wins.
I think it's clean. A clean win. The only other option I could see is that Sammy is the cause of the failure. Because they are doing some stuff with Sammy. Like the last couple of weeks with Sammy on SmackDown with the Bloodline has been so great. What they did on Raw this week was so awesome. But there's been this moment like on SmackDown, last Friday's SmackDown, where the Usos, Jay in particular, didn't want Sammy to go in and see Roman. And then Roman's like, oh, is that Sammy? Oh, come in here. And then they sit down and him and Sammy just have this like really affable conversation and stuff where Sammy's like, oh no, we are mates. And then this wonderful closing shot where they laid out Drew McIntyre and it's Roman in the forefront, Jimmy standing next to him, Jay standing next to Roman, but slightly further away and behind. And then Sammy just sidles in, and he's the one that's standing next to Roman celebrating. Wonderful little visual storytelling. And I think we could lead to Sammy tries to get involved to help Roman, and it backfires. I want Drew to win as clean as possible here, but I think if you do want to protect Roman, having Sammy involved in that, which then furthers Sammy and Kevin, the split of Sammy and the Bloodline, Sammy going back to Kevin, and those two going after the Usos for the tag titles.
Ooh. I love it.
There's a lot you can splinter off with Sammy getting involved in this finish. But if I was to put my own personal stance on this, I want Drew winning clean as a sheet.
Do it clean, yeah. Have people keep trying to interfere, but it's cut off.
Drew just runs them off.
Yeah.
Hanging out. Or Owens comes out and runs them off. Yeah, absolutely.
Because in his mind, Roman owes him one, but Roman has not honored that deal.
Yeah.
So Kay's like, all right, I'm going to do this until I get a shot.
Yeah.
I know Drew will give me a shot.
This is a stacked old card.
And there's only 6 matches.
And I love it. Absolutely love it. Because not everyone has to be on a pay-per-view card. And I think this is going to be a brilliant, brilliant show. I mean, just looking at these 6 matches here. I think Gunther versus Sheamus is my most anticipated in terms of just the visual thrill of seeing two men just beat the absolute cack out of each other. However, I'm so excited for Roman Drew. Like, it is the first time in a long time that a main event of a WWE show has made me legit really excited. I don't think I've been as excited for a title match since Hangman and Omega at Full Gear last year.
Well, Punk MJF.
But what I mean is like a championship main event, like title match. Like Punk MJF wasn't a title match. Yeah, well, no, but it wasn't a title match on like the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think there's 3 matches on this card, which is half the card, which I'm looking forward to them equally in different ways. Sheamus and Gunther, in ring. Riddle and Seth, blood feud story. And for Roman and Drew, significance. And the sort of ramifications to WWE post that match. It feels like a takeover.
It does, yeah. Drew as well, like my other reason I'm picking Drew is the reason why I'm not picking Sheamus to win the IC belt. You don't give the people the hometown pop with Sheamus, who is Irish, but you do give it to Drew. So like you take that one away from the crowd, but you give them the bigger one afterwards. I'm super duper excited. We have got a Clash at the Castle party this coming Saturday. It is sold out. I'm thrilled to say.
We sold out.
We sold out indeed. And a few people have asked, are we still going to be doing live reactions? Well, I am afraid to say that you will be able to see us doing live reactions if you can't make it there in person, because we are doing live reactions from the venue itself. We're going to have we've got different cameras we're going to be setting up. Me and producer Rich have got like a lot of plans that we want to do for how we're broadcasting this thing. But we're going to be doing live reactions from the Joiner on Worship in Shoreditch as we watch Clash of the Castle with, including guest list, about 250 SWAF Nation members.
Which we'll announce as 39,142.
Well, I think we should just announce it as one more than Clash of the Castle.
Or one more than our actual attendance. We hope it works. We think it will be, so make sure to subscribe to WrestleTalk Podcast and the WrestleTalk News channel to see those live reactions this Saturday.
It's going to be very exciting. And I just had word, Tempest is going to be back in London. He's missed a couple of shows because he's gone back to Canada. Moving over to the UK is a difficult process. He's got to go back and see his friends or go to see Raw episodes in Toronto. But he is going to be at our Clash of the Castle party this Saturday, which means the belt will be on the line. He will be defending the Jam That Championship this coming Saturday.
I'm ready.
You?
Yeah, put me in. Put me in. I'm going to take on Tempest. This summer of Tempest is over. The son of Davis will shine on the watered lands that he has left and ruined. Imagine winning a belt and then not defending it all summer because of scheduling issues. That's not right. And in front of a live audience, our first one ever, in person, I will pin him. I will literally pin him. Shoulders to the mat. Are we going to get a mat? Are we going to get a canvas?
Or just the floor.
The floor.
It's a clean floor.
We'll make sure to clean and sterilize the floor, and I will pin Tempest's shoulders to the mat. Floor, sterilized floor, and count. Every single one of the people in attendance will go 1, 2, 3. And your new Jam That Champion, Oliver Davis.
In his home country.
My home country of Wales, I will win the belt.
It's in London.
Against the evil foreign heel. The evil foreign heel Canadian Tempest.
The worst of the foreign heels.
Have you seen their currency? It's a joke. It's a joke.
I bet you he's going to show up to that event with the Union flag upside down, like the un-Americans did.
Disrespect.
Disrespect. So it is going to be Ollie versus Tempest this Saturday at Clash at the Castle and our live watch-along party. So join us on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. Subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mum, tell your pets. It's going to be jam. Jam that jam, everyone.